Hello, Be Awesome podcast listeners and viewers. This is another live one for you here today on a beautiful Wednesday in Massachusetts, but a very stormy Florida, which I'm just coming back from. And I am excited. Today's podcast, I'm excited about every podcast, but this is a new story for me, and how I got to meet our guest today. For those of you that listen to the podcast, you know that in August I did a Build Your Life resume, open to any member uh, invitation, and we had some great ones, starting with Joe Baffia and then Jen Drummond, who is hiking the second tallest peak in 7 continents, which we found out is harder than the tallest peak. So had some really cool ones. And I had one of the members, Dave Zart, reach out to me. And he said, I've got this really cool guy. He makes a difference in people's lives. He's awesome. His name is Joe Decker. And I have to admit, I didn't know who Joe Decker was. And I looked him up and I was immediately intimidated and scared. We're going to get into all of this, but he is a highly recognized all the way to the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's fittest man. We're going to dig into that. He's run all sorts of these crazy races that I wouldn't even go as a spectator to. And I had an expectation that Joe was going to scare the life out of me and just shout and scream. And so I did a bit of homework on him, and I found out that he's one of the most humble, nicest humans you could ever ask for to be on your team. We were supposed to do the podcast last month, but he was trying to fit it in before his own race that he holds, which is we're going to also talk about, which is titled the Ultimate Suck, which is a 36-hour endurance mental physical race that he has out in his family farm in Cuba, Illinois, which I'm going to try to find out where that is in this episode. So Joe, welcome to the podcast. Nicole, your wife, is going to be joining us at some point in time. But we'll get started with you and I on this and see where it goes. Welcome first of all.
Well, thank you very much, Josh. I appreciate you having me on the show, and look forward to chatting for the next hour or so.
Yeah. No, this is going to be great. So the first question is, what is the world's fittest man? What does that entail? What do you have to do to have that crown, or be crowned that in the Guinness Book of World Records?
Well, number one, I did not crown myself the world's fittest man. The media took a hold of it and actually made the term up. The Guinness World Records called the 24-hour physical fitness challenge, and I don't know, you probably remember because we're old farts. Back in like 1990s, they had a show called Guinness Primetime, and it was just people doing crazy shit on there, whatever it was, and they would get Guinness World Records for that. Me and a buddy were sitting at a bar out in DC watching Guinness Prime Time, and this thing came on, the 24-hour physical fitness challenge. You had to do 13 events in 24 hours, and whatever man or woman could do the most in that 24 hours got the title, the 24-hour physical fitness challenge. But then the media titled it the world's fittest man. So I saw that at a bar. Of course, me and my buddy wrote it down on a napkin. After about 6 beers, we both decided we'd whip this guy's butt that had it. Next day when I sobered up, I realized I didn't stand a chance in hell of whipping the guy's butt that had it. But decided that, hey man, getting ready to turn 30, was going to give the 24-hour physical fitness challenge a go. So finally did a couple years later.
So there was somebody that held this record before you.
There was, yeah. It's pretty interesting. There was a guy named Steve Sokol who was from California, I think some like Santa Monica or something like that, like a triathlete. So he had it, and that's what the world record was. And then I just wrote it down, and a couple years afterwards, I decided to see if I could get my fat butt out there and give it a try.
So you're listed on it, I'm assuming, and well, I'm not. I don't want to assume. Has someone else taken the title from you, if you will? Or is someone else in the Guinness Book of World Records above you, or are you still holding that strong after all these years?
I still have it. It's pretty interesting and kind of funny. I mean, Guinness Book, number one, is based out of the UK, so you can imagine dealing with those darn Brits, man. They can be a pain in the butt, especially for us Yanks. So after I broke the world record, well, during the world record, I had to have a poor guy with a video camera videotape the entire thing, which meant that some poor bloke over there in the UK had to sit around and watch my goofy butt exercise for 24 hours. And I think Guinness Book said, put the brakes on that. We don't want to torture someone again. So they actually rested the world record. So I still have the 24-hour physical fitness challenge record and will forever because it's rested. So I'll be 70 years old, and the old person, well, hopefully 80 or 90 years old, and the old person I'm talking smack about how I still got a world record. But yeah, still have the darn thing.
That's pretty cool. No, I don't know if I told you this in our preliminary talk, but I have limited experience with the Guinness Book of World Records. A friend of mine came up with an idea that we would paddle giant pumpkins down a river.
You told me.
We did it. It was more for publicity and trying to get people aware of what you can grow and get kids in the dirt. He had a great program for planting pumpkins on school grounds to get kids to understand where food came from. It was really cool. But came along and said, well, why don't you do a Guinness Book of World Records? And it's not just like you do it. They put all these rules to it, and they require you to have it videotaped, or you have to pay for an independent Guinness judge to be with you throughout the whole thing. Jen Drummond, who I had on, I was just saying about the second highest peak, she has to have everything documented, recorded, videotaped, and all that stuff. And if they miss anything or any part of it, it's null and void. It's nothing. So the first time that Todd did the pumpkin, Todd made it 3.5 miles, and we videotaped it. But there was like this, it's like the Bermuda Triangle of the Taunton River. There was like a 500-foot stretch that there was no video of him paddling down the river, and that wasn't in consideration. So it's kind of crazy, but that's cool. So you have it, you have it forever. So you're going to go down in the history books so you're only the second person to receive it, and it's now rested and nobody else can go for it.
Yeah. The particular one, mine, the 24-hour physical fitness challenge, they have another one that they started, which was, I think, like 10 events and who could do it the fastest. There was like a 12-hour, something like that. But I lost track of it because I got to the point where you can imagine like every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there wanted to challenge me. And again, this was 20 years ago. And I'm like, dude, I did not do it to like meet your ass on the playground and see who's like, who's the toughest. I did it for me just to see if I was capable of succeeding at a challenge and a goal that I set out there, and then hopefully motivate and inspire others. So I didn't do it for my ego or for the fame and fortune. Well, there was not much fame and not a whole lot of fortune that came with it, but it's just more to see if I could just break the record. And that was pretty much it.
I'm doing my math. You're either approaching or at 50.
52.
52. Okay. You don't look like a day over 51. So good job.
Thanks.
So at 52, were you always doing things? Were you always looking? Have you always challenged yourself to difficult things, or was this just a point in time in your life? I've been in bars with my buddies and we challenge each other to things, not to that extreme. I go, yeah, I can do it. Why not? But not to that level. Where did that come from?
Josh, I guess I always have been. Like, I grew up on a farm and played football in high school and was going to play college ball, but got a really bad injury called anterior compartment syndrome. About lost my leg from the knee down. So I wanted to go to college, but my dad was a farmer and my mom was a janitor, so I didn't make enough money, and went into military, challenged myself in there, got in really good shape, and excelled while I was in the airborne infantry with the 10th Mountain Division, and then got out and unfortunately got into drugs and alcohol really bad when I lived down in New Orleans. So I challenged myself with the dark side of the dark side of the force, and that didn't go so well. Became extremely good at that. So that's kind of what, when after I kicked the whole habit, I needed something to kind of replace the addiction that I had, which was with the drugs and the drinking. And so fitness came in, and then from that point, I'm like, well, let's see. If you were the best at doing all this other crap, can you be the best? And just being the best is just a personal challenge, not better than anybody else, but just the best that I personally could be. So I always had it there. So yeah, and was able just to turn around and turn it into a career and into a business now as well too.
Your mom was a custodian. Was she a custodian in schools?
She was, and I tell you what, she was the best damn custodian around, man. She always taught me, if you're gonna be good at something, or if you're gonna do anything, be the best at it. So that's kind of like I got a lot of it from her.
Yeah. So I didn't know that, and I'm a massive advocate, fan, supporter school custodians specifically. They're not thanked enough, and they have an amazing job in front of them. In many cases, it's the first and last smile opportunity many kids get today. I actually do keynotes to custodial groups because we get 3 million homeless and foster kids today, and there was a lot probably when she was a custodian, and that person that gives hope to them a lot of times is that school custodian. So it's a lot more than sweeping a broom. So
I agree 100%. That's pretty cool that you say that, because my mom there were kids that were I wouldn't say that did have good home lives, and she just seemed to always be bringing, when I was in school, she was always bringing kids home. And at the time, when you're young, you're like, what are you doing bringing this ragtag kid home? And then you realize earlier this kid doesn't have a home to go to, or definitely not a happy home. So yeah, she was a huge inspiration, and was one of the people you're talking about.
Your mom's still with you?
Oh yeah, she's still with me.
Okay, good. So what was her thought when you went to her and said, "Hey, I'm gonna do this 24-hour endurance challenge"? Was she just like, "Yeah, go for it"? Or did she say you're crazy type of thing?
She's got pretty used to it, because before that, like I've been all over the world doing a bunch of crazy shit. So she was like, whatever, like, come back, come back in one piece if you can. I mean, she's been pretty hands off. There was 4 boys in my family, so my mother got pretty used to, like, hey, if you can come back in almost one piece, I'll be happy to see you.
She only had boys, or are there sisters in the mix too?
Nah, just 4 boys.
Oh my God, she's a saint. On top of all of that, a house of men. My fiance stuck in a house of men. It's myself and our 2 boys, and
it's all right. She knows the deal.
Yeah, add 2 more to that mix and forget about it. Well, I got to tell you, here's a question for you. And I saw a blurb on your website and on one of your podcasts. I've listened to. I was fascinated when I started watching your videos and some of this stuff, because I'm just like, wow, this guy is just something else. But there's one thing that I've never met anybody that's made this list. But you were at one point one of the 50 most, was it 50 most, or one of the most eligible bachelors in the United States or the world? Is that?
Yeah. 50 most eligible bachelors. I think it was 2001 with People magazine. Yeah, no, it was pretty, because I definitely don't think of myself as an eligible bachelor, or, even someone that would qualify for that. So when I first got the call from People, saying, hey, you've made the list of like 10,000 guys. I'm like, hey guys, stop calling me, man. Quit prank calling me. Like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah. And then they called me again at like, I don't know, 5,000, 1,000. I'm like, whatever. And then finally at 100, they're like, man, you made it to 100. And I'm kind of like, again, like, yeah, okay, that's cool, whatever. And then they called me at 50, and they're like, hey, you're one of the People magazine's 50 most eligible bachelors. And you imagine, I was pretty shocked. That's one thing my ugly ass didn't think the way the list I'd ever make would be People magazine. But it was pretty interesting, though. We
need a little bit of an update on that.
Perfect time. It was perfect timing. Yeah.
Whoa, wait a second.
Lots happened in 21 years.
Hey,
Nicole, welcome. Perfect timing. Doing good.
Centered on here. There we go.
Yeah.
So, Joe, you got off the camera somehow, I think. Let me just.
Yeah.
Yes, just might need just bounce back and forth, but that's all right. We'll keep the camera on Nicole as you're talking about the Bachelor. So who were some of the 50 that you were in the? I mean, it was just a list, right? It wasn't like a competition. You weren't like getting votes or anything. It was
they just make a list, and I mean, you got like George Clooney, Ben Affleck, Tiger Woods. I mean, a bunch of ugly guys like that on that list. Good looking guy like me, of course.
I don't know any of those guys. Well, I know Ben Affleck, but that's about it. Yeah.
Well, needless to say that when they flew us all to a club lower Manhattan somewhere, and me, I'd never done anything like this, so. Nicole likes to laugh about this story. There's 700 women, I know because I was told afterwards, standing out there in this line. So I stand in the line. I'm like, well, this is the entryway. And then I was there about a half an hour, and some woman comes up and she's like, are you one of the bachelors? I'm like, yeah. She's like, honey, you don't stand in the line.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So-
I have no idea. Man, I'm just an old country boy, you know. I'm like, shit, I'm just gonna stand in this line and wait. So VIP, and you know, it was a pretty interesting experience because it was June of 2001, and needless to say, not you know, I mean, the VIPs didn't talk to us, you know, us lowly individuals, but the guy they ended up talking to was a firefighter from New York, and so we hung out and exchanged numbers, became buddies, like drank, and you know, kept in touch. And then unfortunately, he died in the towers of 9/11. So it was pretty sad that the only guy that I really talked to was a firefighter from New York. But yeah, pretty surreal experience.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
And you were so you were like the original like Bachelor reality TV show, you know, a bunch of women looking to meet that single guy in Lower Manhattan. And Nicole, you weren't in that line, were you?
No.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Except it was real reality because there was 50 of us, and there was a 700 capacity club. They have 700 women, and I'm just gonna tell you, man, it was I'd never been exposed to anything like that. They gave me like 2 volunteer, they called them handlers, like to get my drinks and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like, damn, man, this is I could get used to this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Then Nicole came along, and messed it all up. I don't have
exactly. That's why we need an updated
the only
version.
handling I get now is manhandled whenever I open my mouth.
Wow, that is wild. So Nicole, when did you come into the picture?
Oh man, when did I come in? Around 2004.
I met her at the club.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
2004 during an interview to open up a little boutique gym in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I obviously got the job.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah.
And so we met working together and saw eye to eye on a lot of things. And I guess the rest would be history. So we met in the fitness industry, and we're still doing it.
All these years later, that's awesome. And so, the boutique gym was it Gut Check or was it something else?
It was something else at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is Gut Check Fitness? Other than I think the tagline is "Make the world your gym." Is it something like that?
The earth is your gym.
Your earth is your gym. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Well, Gut Check Fitness, I started after I got out of the military, Josh. I got an actual green to gold scholarship for law school, and I did really well. Like hell, I was poised to be like the next white Johnny Cochran. You know, like I was crushing it, man. Argue my ass off, and after the military, and but was studying for my law school admissions test, and woke up one day, and you know, like so many of us out there, you find yourself going like, what do I really want to do with the rest of my life? And I was quite sure that being a lawyer was not it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, I can't see, you know, I know some good lawyers. My sister-in-law is a lawyer. I can't think of another one outside of my sister-in-law. But anyway, I so what am I going to do? Well, you know, I dropped out and then traveled around. That's when I lived in New Orleans, and, you know, got caught up in bad stuff. And when I finally got out of that, I decided that I was going to go back to college and get a degree in exercise physiology, kinesiology. So I did, and decided, you know, I wanted to do something different. And I having been in the military, I missed that band of brothers and sisters, that camaraderie, that having each other's back, that, you know, that whole high speed part of it, the hoorahs part of it. But there was nothing out there. I mean, you could either go to gym and pump weights, like I'm sure you know, or you could go.
No, I actually don't. I was going to call this the world's fattest and the world's fittest. So I'm learning a lot right now. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Anyway, there were very few options. I mean, you could go to jazzercise, you could go pump weights. That was about it. Like during the 90s, so in early 2000s. So decided to start a company based upon what I'd learned in the military, and it's we've been doing it now. I've been doing it for over 20 plus years. Basically, the Earth is our gym. You don't need brick and mortar. We use primarily body weight calisthenics, which I know at 52 has kept my joints and you know, shoulders and knees and stuff pretty healthy. And we do use like a light set of dumbbells and people for classes, but we use a lot of like logs and rocks and stuff like that. And yeah, this gut check, and it came about from my drill sergeant down in Fort Benning, Georgia, when he was smoking my butt and I was 18 years old. And he said, "Say, son, right now is a gut check." And I remember I wanted to cry because I thought Drill Sergeant Baker was beating on me and just picking on me because I was a lowly little teenager, you know, from the Midwest. But in reality, he was trying to make a better man out of me. So
Did you a favor.
Did me a favor.
So are you the only trainer for gut check? Are there multiple like, can I be well, I can't be, but could someone that's in shape be a gut check certified person? Like, is it a franchise? How does it all work?
Yeah. Yes, we do have all options. We have instructors that work with us here in San Diego. We also have an affiliation program where we have different branches throughout the U.S. and we Australia also, but COVID kind of kiboshed that for a little bit.
Yeah,
it's coming back. So yeah, the affiliation program that we do have, and we do have a certification in order to bring those people on and learn how to, not only just teach a workout, but the method behind our madness, because there is programming, there is a lot of things that go into outdoor fitness versus just, a trainer in the gym. So that's kind of what sets us apart.
Yeah. Okay. So I shouldn't just go outside in the yard and just pick up big rocks and put them down and that's me getting my gut check fitness on. There is rhyme and reason to the stuff I saw online that you have these people do. It's not just
there totally is. I mean, there's definitely a methodology, and that's one thing we teach. I mean, definitely with all the classes that we do, but also with our affiliate program too, is how to program weekly and turn it into longevity. And because my thing is like, I mean, listen, it's not about big biceps like Arnold or a big old booty like Kim Kardashian. I mean, ultimately, I think like, the thing about health and fitness is just growing old with your pride and your dignity somewhat intact, and being able to leave this life, which we're all, going to eventually, with your head held high and again, be as proud of a man or woman as you can, and somewhat have your body and your faculties intact. And that's kind of what our goal is. It's not just it's not weight loss or supermodel bull crap or all that.
Quick fixes.
It's not quick fixes. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. Have fun.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I had Will Schneider on. I don't know if you've listened to many of my podcasts, but he was my last podcast. I'm still trying to get it approved. We tend to keep it PG-13 with the swear words, but I think we got a little passionate in that episode. Out of 100 and some odd episodes, and it didn't get published, or it got held back. So, but Will and I were talking about, he's a yoga instructor. He's more than a yoga instructor, but that's one of the things he does is yoga. And I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or offline, was like, how did COVID impact, your day to day? Because your job, your livelihood involves being close to people during a pandemic. I'm a public motivational speaker. I'm the hype guy as my new title, because inspiration, motivation speaking, I think, is overused, and a lot of people don't do it. They just say that they do. So, but as a hype guy for audiences, it shut me down completely. And I didn't embrace virtual. Like, I didn't embrace Zoom. Is that something, and where you guys are making the earth your gym, I'm guessing that you're not in like a square box of space. Like, did you do that? If you did, how hard was it? And then I guess the second part of that question is, are you doing virtual today?
Yeah, good question. Because, the good thing about being outdoors, Josh, even like the pandemic, unfortunately, parks and stuff were shut down, which was extremely, I think, one of the silliest damn things ever. We won't get into the whole COVID and all the silliness of it, because we know common sense was the first victim of COVID. But we did have to stop teaching outdoors and teaching in groups and stuff like that. So we were able to shift to Zoom, and people like it. So we have people from all over the world. We work a lot with the Challenge Athletes Foundation, Operation Rebound. We work with veterans organizations and stuff like that. Healthcare workers and stuff. And it's still the motto, the earth is your gym. You can do it anywhere. We do it on the road. We teach the workout classes. People tune in. We just give them the basic. we give the basic format, but then we also have a library of like 200 or 300 videos that people can check out as well. And again, it's just basic, no need for like a whole lot of expensive equipment, and just good stuff. You know, it gets you up, gets you moving every day, get that blood flowing.
Yep.
So I could buy, and I'm in Boston. I don't know if you have any affiliates out here, but let's just say I like fall in love with the program. I could buy a membership and do online, live and recorded.
Yes.
Yeah. You can do live.
Yeah, the beauty of that is you can tune in live, but if the timing isn't right for you, being on the East Coast and whenever we are, a day, whatever, you can watch the recording at your convenience, which is nice. And you have up to a certain amount of time in order to get that workout in. It also is accountability because I can see if you're doing it or not. So there's accountability too. It's a fun way to do something different too. You don't have to do it every single day. You can pick and choose. So. And
the nice thing about it too is it's definitely created a community. You know, at first, like having been like in person outdoors, I'm kind of like, man, there ain't no way in hell I want to do like online stuff.
Garage.
Yeah, like in a garage. We had to do it in a garage because you couldn't go out to a park. You know, like God forbid you're in a park out there all by yourself. So we had to do it in a garage, which again made no damn sense. And of course, our neighbors loved us for that. But it's nice now because there's definitely a community. And I think the beauty of it, one thing I really have noticed is, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, is the problem we're having with our veterans. 22 days commit suicide. And I think a lot of them, number one, just get caught up in it's hard. I mean, it's almost impossible for them to get outside. So, not wanting to do that, I feel that this has really helped a lot. And we have, again, a good veteran community that is doing it at home. They don't have to be outside. They don't have to face people. They can still be home, but now they have this community of like-minded people online.
It also takes the intimidation away.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, and it takes intimidation away too because, Nick and I have been doing this for a long time. Where we're doing an exercise, like, hey, if you can't do this, modify, man. I mean, modify, whatever you want to do, So, if you don't want to do 15, do 5. You don't want to do.
No one's watching.
Yeah, no one's. Well, we are watching.
Well.
So
you don't need to have your camera on. I could have somebody step in for me. Yeah.
You don't. Yeah, you don't have to have a camera. A lot of people don't even turn their video or their audio on.
You know what? We're there for them. Do what you need to do.
So, I mean, you guys seem too good to be true as far as just your attitude and your mindset and all this stuff. And like I said, when I got introduced to you, I'm like, this guy's going to start. The only thing I could think of when I started seeing these races, and I want to get into some of these crazy races and things you did, but I want to got a couple more on this gut check because I'm really kind of fascinated. I'm sitting here saying, you're working with the top 1%, right? The top 1% of performers with your program, but through this conversation, I'm hearing, veterans that may be not as in shape as they were when they were in the service, and some other people, and having this virtual. Is your program designed for virtually anyone? Is that the idea?
It is, and it can be. Josh. I mean, growing up on a farm and having my mom was a hardworking janitor. And my dad was a welder/farmer. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money. I mean, I couldn't afford a damn Bowflex or any fancy equipment like that. I mean, so you had to get creative and make do. But that's when I learned that, hey, if you really want something bad enough, you'll figure it out and make it happen. And you don't need a lot of money, because I think one of the things we've heard over the years is a lot of people say, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. I can't buy this. I can't buy that. Yeah. So I'm like, you don't need it. I mean, we tell them every day, if you can afford dumbbells, man, get a sandbag, get a cinder block, get a gallon jug of milk. I mean, gallon jug of milk for beginners would be all right, but get a 40 of Old English or something like that, whatever you need to work out.
Yep. Wow. That's I got a Peloton because I got a bunch more shirts that I needed to hang up. So that's
exactly.
I know it, and it's right next to my treadmill, and that holds my pants. So
and your Bowflex, right?
Yeah. Well, I get 2 of those. It's a monthly commitment with them. You buy it for $19 a month for the rest of your life. You're on the hook for it. So.
And then it's not paid off. Your kids can pay it off after that.
Are those guys still around? Bowflex? I don't hear that name anymore.
I saw one the other day. I'm like, holy moly!
Yeah.
I told Jim's still around.
Yeah. No, it's and it's funny you have all these. And I don't know if I told you. I grew up in the weight loss wellness business. I actually grew up in My mother was a manager for a territory for it was called Gloria Stevens Figure Salons. They had 1.5 million members. Actually had the founder. He's 91 now, Joe Mulkey. And it's amazing that all of the work that companies go through to provide equipment that is just like some of it, you just go, you shake your head and you're like, this is ridiculous. Like in the 70s, they had this machine. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it had a leather belt and you would wrap it around your waist and you'd lean back and this machine would just jiggle. I called it the jiggle belt. And that was supposed to just melt away the pounds. And it was the most ridiculous thing known to man. I've been trying to find one to put it in my office just as kind of like a memory of what I grew up around. Yeah, I was the only male. There was no men allowed in any of the salons. There were 370 salons, and I was the only one. I was, 4 to 8 years old or whatever. But my mom was a single mom, so I'd go to her office and hang out, and I was the only male that was allowed during business hours. So I'd see all of the equipment, but the little trampolines and the jiggle belts, and just now that you look back, you go, who the hell ever thought that would work? What is that supposed to do? But now they've got this thing called the pre-fit or prem-fit or something, and it's literally like pads you put on your body, and it's like electrical, and it moves back like it's like electric shock treatment. It's like, what pain are you putting yourself through? And you guys are sitting here saying, well, use sandbags, cinder blocks. Don't tell me you can't afford it, and don't tell me you can't find something to work out with. That's pretty interesting. And just so so do you have like every member? Do you do like a test with them to see what their capacity or capability is to work off of, or do you just say, come on board? Because you said something about like, hey, if you can't do 15 push-ups, let's get you to do 5. Like, how do you work balance a group or an online session?
Yeah, so depending upon what level, because we have people just drop in and stuff like that. So depending upon what level they work with us, like some are monthly members and work out monthly, some just drop in. We like to do like in the military. I mean, again, I'm a big believer, Josh, in the old, what is it? KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
So I don't overcomplicate things, like we do baseline testing. We give them the parameter. Of course, if they're, in Australia or in New York or whatever, they have to do it on their own. And it's just basic body weight type stuff, cardiovascular type stuff. And then that way you can periodically, like every quarter, just kind of test and see, if it's working. And I mean, in 99% of the time, well, if they're 100% of the time, if they're actually working out and doing what we tell them to, it's going to work. But, of course, like you get some that don't and wonder why it's not working. But yeah, we have a baseline testing, and some people just want to drop in just to join and have fun. So it depends upon what your goals are or what you want to get out of it or how long you want to do it, So
it becomes a little bit more specified and specific for our online coaching. So we have personal online coaching that's completely different, where they could jump into a Zoom workout, but the programming is written either by Joe or I based on their level of fitness and their specific goals. So we have several online clients also that are more specific and specialized.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I want to get into your races and all this other stuff, but before I do that, because you seem like a winner, and I saw this somewhere. Did you win a game show?
I actually,
Did you?
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I actually, so about the time of the People magazine, after the Guinness book, like just everything kept coming out of the woodwork. For me, again, man, I'm a farm boy from the Midwest and an Army vet. But so the one thing people they didn't know is that, I was an honors law school dropout.
Yeah.
I was a student, but I just decided I didn't want to become it anyway.
It's all right. I get it. I had 5 years of high school and dropped out of community college. So he's a step up. At least he got someplace further and then dropped out. Good for you.
Yeah. So I got a call from
He's actually very smart.
the game show, the weakest link. And I remember Ann, like, you are the weakest link.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they called me up and they were having tryouts for it, and I had to go to Universal Studios up in LA.
For all Guinness World Record holders?
There was like 25 or like a mixed pot of like a little hodgepodge. So I ended up making the cut. There was like, I think 6 or 7, I forget, like 7 people.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Like it was actually the world's fattest man against the world's fittest man, and actually it was an interesting crew. We had the world's most downloaded porn star at the time, which was definitely for me pretty damn interesting, being 30 years old and single. But anyway, we ended up getting on the game show, and it came down to the world's fattest man.
Athlete. Yeah.
But it's actually, his real title was the world's largest living athlete, and he weighed about 800 pounds. And actually, wonderful guy, Manny Yarbrough. Unfortunately, he passed away. But it ended up being me versus him, and he was 7 foot tall, weighed 781 pounds. So they had to get a box for my little dwarf butt to stand on to compete against him. But I ended up winning. Winning the game show, The Weakest Link, and I donated the money to my college to set up. My mom was sick with she had mesothelioma at the time from a movus and asbestos at the school, and they fired her. So I set up a scholarship for low-income smart kids in her name. So I called it the Diane Decker Memorial Scholarship. So which was $75,000. Yeah, $75,000, and it's one of the larger scholarships at my university right now.
It is the largest.
Oh wow. How cool is that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So I'm just looking this up. If this isn't on YouTube, I hope you have like a VCR tape of this or something that you've got to put this on.
I think the episode I was able to find it on YouTube of you.
Yeah.
Cut out before they declared the winner.
Yeah, I need to put it up. I have it on.
Yeah, you got to put that up because I saw it somewhere. And when I do a search for you, The Weakest Link, you come up with the WWF Superstar Special, which that's a different one. But you got to make this something that's accessible for people to see because I want to see. I'm intrigued now. I want to see this. I want to see the special block they made for you so you could match up head to head with the world's largest athlete, 781 pounds. Wow.
Yeah, he was a big man and actually a super nice guy. The interesting thing is, after him and I were on the show together, HBO came to us, and they wanted Manny because he had won the World Sumo Championships, I think in like 95 or 96, something like that. They wanted him to wrestle again, so HBO wanted me to train Manny to get him ready to wrestle again. And when we weighed him in, we had to take him to a junkyard to put him on junkyard scales because there was no conventional scales that could weigh a man that size. It was absolutely amazing, man. He was a massive man and super nice guy again. God rest his soul.
Well, the junkyard to weigh yourself. I haven't gotten there to that point yet. But that's now good to know they have a scale somewhere that if that happens,
they do.
Yeah. So you got this title in 2001. You become one of the 50 most eligible bachelors. You go on The Weakest Link. Like you did all this really cool stuff, and like you haven't even gotten started yet, because then you started doing this other crazy stuff. Because I saw that you actually won the Spartan death race twice, right? Once wasn't enough. Like that, people don't run it twice. You ran it twice and won it twice.
Yeah. Well, I was.
Is that right? No, and if I'm wrong on something, I'm doing all of this from my brain from 3 weeks of history lessons going back last month. So if I'm wrong on something, please correct me. But is that right? You won it twice?
Yeah. I won it at age 40. And again, you know what? I see a challenge. I see some out there that intrigues me and motivates me. I'm a big believer in, if you're going to do something, do it the best that you can. And so train for it, just using the same workouts that created with our company, Gut Check Fitness, and won it at age 40. And then I actually enjoyed it so much. I
went back. So much fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I got flesh-eating bacteria. All kinds of good stuff. So I went back and did it again at age 41. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I might have gotten flesh-eating bacteria from the salmon that I ate at Miami Airport because they asked me how I wanted to cook the other night. So I didn't need to do the Spartan death race for that.
Sushi at an airport? Oh,
no. This was a restaurant. This was like a restaurant in the airport, and I asked for the salmon dinner, and he said, "How would you like that cooked?" And I should have just said, "I'd like it, just a bottle of water instead." But I went with it, And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how it was cooked because they just basted it in this stuff. So I couldn't tell you, but I may have a flesh-eating something inside of me right now. So what is the Spartan Death Race for people that aren't? I mean, these obstacle races, they're all over the place now. My mother at 60 something, she's in her 60s. I can't say how far into her 60s, but she just did one of these challenges, a 5K, and she wore a tutu. And I mean, God bless her. She didn't train, and she went out and she did a 5K obstacle run in the mud 2 or 3 weeks ago and completed it. You obviously not wearing a tutu in something called a Spartan Death Race, but I'm guessing it's more than 5K and more than, whatever number of obstacles. What does that entail?
Yeah,
you did it's different.
Yeah, each year was a little bit different. It was generally like, I think the first year took like 27 hours, and the second year was like, I don't know, 34 hours or something like that. So
straight, no sleep, no break.
Yeah, no. You go nonstop. Just a combination of a lot of stuff. But on a lot of these, like you have from the 5K for people that just want to go out and have fun, all the way up to the multi-day ones like the Baltimore Suck that we host. It just kind of depends what you're looking for,
Yeah. So you did the Badland? Badwater. You did the Badwater. You've done the run across the Himalayas. You've done a whole bunch of them. What was the toughest? What was the toughest one on you as far as? I mean, you went and did the Spartan Death Race a second time because you liked it so much. Some of these races you had to not like or just really pushed you. I heard something on one of them that you did. I think it was in Africa, that the sun was rising or the sun was setting, and instead of continuing the race or something, you smoked a cigar and I think had a glass of wine or something like that. Like you make these races fun. Like you're not just like intense, like going after it. You're enjoying the moment. Were there any that you really weren't enjoying the moment, or you just said, "What am I doing here?"
Hey, man, any of these you do, like these ultras and stuff like that. I mean, I'm human, There's all of us, like, there's certain moments, right, Nick? Yeah. There's certain moments when, you just don't like it. One point, I would say, like, one of the worst was during the Badwater 135, my first year. I had just finished up the race across the Himalayas, a 500-mile trans-Himalayan race, the Ray Galwa, the Western States 100-miler, Leadville 100-miler. Anyway, my brain's not working. During about mile mile 100, my feet got swollen. I didn't know about wearing larger shoes, because your feet, like during ultra race, they swell up to 2 or 3 sizes bigger. Yeah. And so I had my crew guy cut the toes out of my shoes. When I did, my toes went like ding and like shot out. So I had like 4 inches of toes as I'm running. They kept digging in the asphalt. So man, I'm running, tripping over my toes. The meat's coming off of them. I'm delirious. And so I told my crew guy, Greg Jenkins, I want him to cut my little toes off, because my little toes were the biggest nuisance. And I think that's probably one of the lowest points I had right there. He argued with me for quite some time about cutting my little toes off. And you know what? The next day, or when I finally did get to sleep, woke up, I was very happy that he didn't cut my little toes off. So that was probably one of the lower points. And I would give you this advice, guys. You do something like that, no matter how much you want to cut off an appendage, don't do it during the event. Wait till afterwards, think about it. If you want to cut it off, go for it. Most likely you're not going to want to.
Warn your crew.
Yeah, warn your crew. Don't let them, don't give you a knife, because you might just do it.
Yeah, no, that's, wow. 2 to 3, your shoe size goes up 2. I didn't know that. So after you run that distance, it's just your foot expands.
Yeah. You think about it on asphalt like that, because Badwater's through Death Valley and it's all on asphalt. Your feet just, they take a beating, and the heat's 140 degrees out. So,
how many shoes did you melt?
7 pairs of shoes. Melted the soles off 7 pairs of shoes.
During
how many hours were you going when you hit 100 miles?
Boy, I don't know. Like maybe 30. Like maybe 30 hours or something like that, like 20. I don't remember, like a long time.
Are you a really patient person?
I am, except when it came to marriage, boy. I don't know about it. Marriage. I used to be patient. Now I have no patience tolerance.
No, I like, and maybe it's my ADD, but I can't. I haven't driven 100 miles, and every shiny object distracts me, like in a week, right? Like, how do you have that, like, laser focus?
too.
Oh, I do too.
How do you have that laser focus and that ability to just, like, I'm being honest with myself. I'm just sitting here going, and I think it takes a certain. I've got a great friend, Ed Rossich, who lives out in California, that he's in his 50s and he's been running ultras, and he tried to run across the country and was done run across Georgia, and he does it for like fun. And when I talk to him on a Saturday, on a random Saturday, I'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I just got done running 18 miles." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's cool. Why didn't you run 19 as a joke?" He's like, "Well, that's tomorrow." But so I think it takes a special kind of person. But how do you stay in that mindset? And I know it's just one foot. You just try to concentrate on one foot in front of the next, but that's wild.
I think there's a sense of peace that kind of comes through your body. I'm speaking from my own experience.
I was gonna say, that was my next question. Are you a runner too, or have you done these?
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
But there's a sense of speed, I guess, serenity, and just being in your own, I guess, head, if you will, but escaping everything from the everyday world and just being you within that time and enjoying where your body can take you. And appreciating everything that's around you. I mean, yeah, it sucks at certain times, but yes, it's beautiful at other times. So It's just interesting, when you're doing these races and you're out in the middle of nowhere, it's like, well, I couldn't drive on this trail. I might as well just look around and see the beauty of everything. So
that's true. I think
the reason why I got into it, but
I agree with Nick, and you just kind of like, I don't know, it's weird because I've been diagnosed with ADD and OCD and OPP and all kinds of crap like that.
Yeah.
And you just kind of go in a zen. You just get inside and you just shut everything down. And it's really nice because if you're a person, like yourself, like it's hard to let that go. And I think being able to have that is like, it's nice because it gives you kind of a little reset, Josh. You just get back and you're like, all right, this wasn't so bad, like I needed that. That felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes some people need to feel pain to feel alive again. Like this one.
Yeah, I don't.
And I'm not saying pain, injuring yourself, but feeling, the hurt, the grind, the, one step forward, I'm only 2 more hours of this, or 1 more mile that's going to take me 2 hours. Who knows? But it's kind of that sense of mentality too, I think.
I agree.
And were you a runner? Because you were a paratrooper, right?
Yeah.
In the military.
No, hell no, man. I'm a powerlifter. It's crazy how my life works and how like things tie together, like your mom being a custodian in schools, and I talked to a lot of them and the tie in there. I actually did a podcast yesterday, so I was supposed to be in Key West Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for a leadership summit, and I was down there Sunday, and Monday midday I decided to leave, and my co-host on my other podcast, Paul and Ken, who was a dear friend for 20 years, we did a debrief, and we had the view of the water and the waves and all that stuff going on. But one of the attendees, who's the facility director in Oregon, was a paratrooper, and he just kind of shared a story with one person that someone overheard, and he had it shared. And he was a paratrooper, and his chute failed. And so he told the story about his chute failed, and then by the time he had to cut the chute, and then the secondary, and he was already on the ground and ended up messing himself up pretty good. So I'm sure there's some endurance involved in anything in the military, but I'm guessing jumping out of a plane, you're not running ultra marathons after that. You're trying to drop as close to wherever it is you want to go. So were you always a runner, or was this just part of the bar challenges that you got, which like, hey, I wonder if you can do this, and then I sit here and I look at a couch to 5K, and it's like, how do you do that? And you're it was part. It's funny that you asked that. I don't think about it a whole lot. I just, to me, it's like I've always been doing it, but I haven't. It was one of those things. I was a weightlifter. I was actually a competitive power lifter all through high school, and even did competitive powerlifting with the Army team and strongman stuff as well. And one day, again, like you said, that bar games, the buddies like bet me I couldn't run like I say a mile. I think it was like 2 or 3. And I think I did, but I think it damn near hospitalized me. So after that, I'm like, all right, well, if you can hardly run 2 or 3, let's see, can you run 4 or 5? And started doing it. And it just always like, I was like, okay, if you've done that now, let's see if you can do that. And it just.
Powerlifters aren't supposed to run.
Yeah, powerlifters aren't supposed to run. So, but then I think one of the things in the 90s, like there was no one to mentor me. I didn't know of any competitive powerlifters that were competitive ultra runners too. So utilizing my degree and, that I had and my know-how from all my experience, I was able to kind of melt the two worlds together, which was for me absolutely, just phenomenal. I mean, it was just like so intriguing too, because being able to lift heavy and run far was just unheard of. And that's going to help me break the world record too, because it was as much strength as it was endurance. So it wasn't not always a runner. I still want to say it's one of my favorite things to do, but
yeah, do you still run? Do you still run distance today, or are you just?
Yeah. No, and my goal is I'm trying to get back into the ultra running and stuff. I took a break, and people are like, oh, why? And I'll tell you what, one of the things, Josh, that I've learned was so hard about staying at that level and competing at that level and training at that level is the mental fatigue. Training for bad waters or for world records or for Himalaya races or for, all that stuff. The mental fatigue is what got me, and I found myself falling into kind of depression, I think, a little bit too.
It kind of did some damage, just meaning it wasn't helping him, and he couldn't recover as well because his mentality wasn't there, and you weren't appreciating it like you should have been.
Yeah. So now I'm just trying to get back into it again, but I want to get back into it and actually enjoy it. I know you're going to be like, well, how the hell is a 50K or 50 miler enjoyable? Well, it is if you're not trying to, be the top 10% or something like that. And you're just out there to have a good time and smoke a cigar and have some wine afterwards.
Right. Well, you're in competition with yourself, right? Opposed to being in competition with everybody else. And that's a tough thing for people to,
Yeah.
David Zart just said, FYI for Joe, I am in Tennessee and will crew the Barkley. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it's probably a race and something that you got part of your crew already lined up. So
David may be waiting a while. So Barkley is considered the world's toughest, one of the world's toughest ultra marathons. I think Nick, 13 people in 13 or 14, 15 people. Josh in 30 years have completed it. So
how many people run it? Or how many people attempt to run it by the sounds of the 13 to 15 people that have actually completed
so
it?
Only my numbers escape me because I've been there twice. I got invited twice, and it's the only race I've ever dropped out of twice. I won the death race twice, completed Badwater twice, did all this crap twice, and assumed that I could do Barkley at least once, but couldn't complete it, and it's kind of my nemesis right now. But so that's why David's put it out there. He thinks it's probably kind of funny that I got my ass handed to me.
What makes that so much harder than these other races that you're almost having to remove your pinky toe?
Well, you have to read up on it. If you get off this thing, look up Barkley marathons because the guy that runs it, he makes you and I look normal. He's a complete fruitcake. One of the most wonderful humans you ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
And the race is in Frozen Head State Park. What happened was, the guy that shot Martin Luther King, what was his name? I'm getting my
coming to me. Yeah.
Anyway, he escaped from prison there, and 24 hours later, they found him 8 miles away. So the locals said, hey, let's make a race here. This sounds like it's crazy. So it has 60,000 feet of elevation gain over the course of 100 miles. You have to find trees. You have to find books in trees at night. It's absolutely insane. I mean, the fog becomes a factor. The elevation becomes a factor. There's absolutely no trail, so you're bushwhacking the whole way. So there's all that. So you look at that's the Barkley, and it's still one of my favorite events out there, and it's one I've never completed. Well,
James Earl Ray. James Earl Ray was who had
James Earl Ray.
assassinated.
Yeah. I was thinking John Wilkes Booth, like wrong person.
Yeah. So it's not just running; it's
everything. I mean, it's navigating, it's land nav, and a lot of it's luck too. I mean, it's just luck. Like, because I know one of the years the fog was so thick I couldn't see my hand in front of my face, and you're trying to navigate in the mountains for 100 miles and you can't even see your hand. So, you needless to say, not many of us made it very far in that year. But
I might have missed this. Is there a time limit to this? Is that why it's not finished by many people, or do people just give up?
It's either 60 or 100 hours, but most people get timed out. So there's a 20-mile loop, and you got like an X amount of hours, like 14 hours or something, to make it per loop. And if you don't make it, I think then you get timed out. So it's pretty common to get timed out.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna look this. I'm gonna have to look this stuff up. So you started your own race.
I did.
Competition. Is it called a race? Is it?
It's really it is a race. It's a competition. It's really not about who's the winner, who's the loser. Excuse me. It's really I wanted to set up an environment, Josh, to where people can come out and test their limits. But I wanted it to be a blend of all the cool stuff that I've done over the years. Mm-hmm. So the powerlifting, the strongman, the military component. I mean, we have a gas chamber. We have, we have all kinds of military type stuff. You have.
Let's step back at gas chamber.
So
if you don't mind, because I mean, I've never heard of a race or competition that involves a gas chamber. Is there real gas in the gas chamber? What are you hitting these guys with?
It's civilian gas, so it doesn't really count. It's only I tried getting this military grade, but apparently my buddy, who's a colonel at the local guard station, said that it's illegal for him to give me regular CS gas to use on civilians, which I thought was a little bit of BS. But so
me too. I think we should have a discussion about that with the colonel and have him on sometime. So there's this is learning life lessons here. So there's a civilian tear gas. I'm assuming it's tear gas we're talking about, or some.
It's like a pepper spray, but I test out new ones every year, and so this year I found out bear spray is the winner. It was hands down everyone's least favorite, which mean it was the number one spray that we used on him. So that's what I'll be going with from now on is a heavy duty bear spray.
All right. So you do this race. These people are doing this knowingly and paying an entry fee to do it, and they get put in a gas chamber where you hit them with bear spray.
It sounds a lot worse than it is. It's more of a
it actually is pretty bad in my head. I mean, I'm sitting here going, these people know that it's coming. So this is amazing. Like, so you hit them with it. They have to stay in there for a period of time. Like, what's the challenge? What do they have to do?
So they have to do, and we don't actually spray them in the face or spray them. We just spray we spray the room. Like, I would never just spray them with it. I mean, that would be torture. Now, David Zart, I might spray with that, but
I think we should impose a face spray. I think that should be for next year. Face spray of bear tear gas. I think that's yeah.
So you spray the room, and they have to do 10 burpees, and they have to count out loud. So you make sure that they're actually breathing in the air. And we lock the door, so they got 10 burpees in there, and then they come out, and we even have like a nice little dunking station set up where they can wash off their face and kind of clean up a little bit. I mean, it's actually not that bad, and then they go climb ropes afterwards.
Yeah, your description actually made it sound a lot more fun. It sounded just like, me going to check the mail. It's like, want to check the mail or get sprayed with some bear spray? It's a toss-up. And I saw, you've got a Facebook page and you show a lot of this stuff. I saw something that you called the spa, but it looked like a moat. That I don't know if there's alligators in Cuba, Illinois, but if there were, they'd be in this thing. do they just swim across that a couple of times, or what does that entail?
Yeah, they swim across it at like 2:00 in the morning, and they all call it a spa. It's actually really nice. I mean, it's pretty warm, and they can get in there and kind of clean off a little bit. They do the spa, and yeah, they got there's just a ton of like really fun stuff, like the spa and the gas chamber and the ropes and the strong man and strong woman equipment.
The spa actually looks like you'd come out dirtier than when you went in, depending on what they were going through. There's like a green film to it, which is interesting. And they go through that at 2:00 in the morning, so you don't know if there's snakes and spiders and bears, oh my, in this thing. You're just kind of swimming. And is it dark?
Oh yeah. No, it's pitch black at night when they go through there. And we've had a real problem with alligator snapping turtles that have like kind of taken over the place. So these guys,
are you serious? There's snapping turtles?
Oh yeah, they're big ones too. So I've been worried about these guys, like, you know, bothering my snapping turtles, but so far I haven't had any complaints from the turtles, so we're okay.
Well, I'm really grateful to see that you're such a humanitarian, that you're concerned about snapping turtles and how they might be disrupted by your athletes that, by the looks of the few videos that I watched on this, actually look forward to the next one. Like, you had one guy that's done it how many times? Who's the guy that's done it the most?
I got Brad Malley from LA, originally from Cleveland, Ohio. So that explains a lot. He's done it Nick, 6 times? Yeah, 6 times. Tracy's done it 5, and how many
years have you had this event?
This year was number 11. Yeah, 11 years. It got wrote up as one of the most extreme tests of fitness in the nation. And I know, we laugh and joke about it, but it really is a unique event, because our thing, unlike a lot of events out there, Josh, is we want you to finish, and we try our hardest to get you through it. But the course is so challenging, it's difficult. But we're going to try our damnedest to help you get through. And we have a 4 and a 12
There's a tractor pull. Wasn't there a tractor pull or something?
Oh yeah. They do a tractor pull. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff in there.
I love how I just come up with this crazy stuff in my brain of things that don't make any sense at all for anybody to do. And you're like, oh yeah. You saw that. That was right. Yeah, they pull tractors. The tractors run and drive on their own, but we go ahead and have them pull them with rope anyway, just because. So this is 36 hours.
So what's that?
You said, go ahead.
Oh, I said, like, my dad's tractors, and he's not exactly a real good mechanic, so they actually don't run. That's why they pull them for him.
Oh, good. Move them from one side of the yard to the other so you can mow the lawn. Got it.
Exactly.
And this is the 36-hour race.
Yeah, and like I said, we have a 4 and 12 hour for people to get their feet wet, literally wet. And then decide, and a lot do the 4, the 12, and then come back and give the 36 a go.
And you're up for this whole 36 hours with them?
Most of it. We've started, actually, Nick and I switch off on Saturday night and take a couple naps, because if not, we're just completely delirious on Sunday morning because we're pretty much up for the entire week leading up to it. So yeah, we're out there with them.
Oh, that is amazing. And so it sounds like you've got like a cult-like following with these folks they come back, they want to come back, they're challenging themselves, you're challenging them in a very interesting way. Like I said, everything that I've watched and seen, and David Goggins type people that are stay hard and basically telling people you can do this and don't give me your excuses. You sit here and you're saying, we want them to finish. We encourage them. We try to help them to get to that point where they feel that they've accomplished something. But you have a pretty fanatical following of folks that believe in you, the mission, and what you do. That's pretty wild.
Well, it's cool, because I think one of the things we really preach about is there's an old show, I don't know if you remember back in the day, called Pay It Forward, and it's about, if you can motivate, inspire, and empower one human being, and that person motivates, inspires, and empowers another human being, collectively, I mean, it can be infinite. We can continue to motivate and inspire and empower the world, So I mean, that's really what we're all about, you know, just staying positive and motivating and being there for one another and pushing one another. And, you know, because I'm a big believer, you know, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And there is nothing wrong with having a gut check now and then. There's nothing wrong with embracing a little bit of suck now and then. And I know maybe it's not for everybody, but I'll tell you what, I do think we all need just a little, every now and then we need a little sand in our panties, a little kick in the butt, and then someone to kind of hold our hand and, you know, kind of lead us on at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Is this the, I'm gonna ask this the funny way, is this the only suck event that you have?
No, we have different suck events around the nation. The schedule, we're actually working on a schedule right now. Like last year, we did one in Hell, Michigan, that is. But we did one in Hell. We've done them in Texas. We've done them. Actually, we did them all up and down the coast of Australia when we were allowed to be there. But I'm working on a schedule for next year because we call them regional sucks. So you can come out, check it out. They're only 4 to 12 hours. And then the big ones at my parents' farm back in Cuba, Illinois, which is halfway between Chicago and St. Louis in the middle of a cornfield.
No, I've got Cuba on my list of places to check out. Australia. So you had suck races in Australia. Do they pretty good following down there? What's that all about?
Yeah, we had a really good, like I said, prior to COVID, we had a really good following. I mean, things have been crazy, and it's still a little bit crazy down there. They're just finally getting back to abnormal, as those darn Aussies are. But yeah, we did, you know, from Melbourne to Sydney to Brisbane to Perth and Adelaide, had them all over the country.
Wow. What's the craziest thing down there?
The craziest thing, oh man, everything's crazy in Australia. Number one, everything can kill you. Everything can kill you and it wants to kill you. The snakes, you name it. But I think the crazy, and I won't make it too long because the story is long, and I'm still traumatized by it. But they have these kangaroos called big reds. I don't know if you ever seen on TV like these things.
Oh yeah, fighting kangaroos.
Yeah. So they are 7 feet tall and like 280 pounds. I mean, they're the size of Shaq. I mean, they're the size of Shaq, but with talons and all kinds of stuff. So one night there was a fire on the course, like ways away from us. But I went to explore it. I got up there and something jumped out of the brush. I was all by myself, in the middle of the Australian outback, mate, and a damn big red jumps out. And of course, I silently screamed and peed my pants at the same time because he's about 6 feet from me. But his ass was on fire because they jumped through the fire, and they actually spread fires with their tail when they take off to get away from the fires. And they can't stop, drop, and roll because they got little T-Rex hands. Yeah. So he spun in a circle and made a huge dust devil, and he was trying to put the fire out on his bunghole. And as I'm watching this like take place, I was in shock and I couldn't move or anything. And I called Nicole and told her I saw a kangaroo with his ass on fire, and she of course thought I was crazy, and other people on the radio did, but I witnessed it. And I'm telling you what, it's one of the most terrifying things you ever see in your life. Yeah.
I think the alligator snapping turtles could have helped him out.
That ranks up there, but not as much as a kangaroo with his butt on fire.
Yeah. So, wow, that's something. I'm just visualizing it as I'm thinking through this whole thing, and you've got that going for you. Well, I gotta tell you, I mean, we can cover anything else that I might have missed on this, but I'm gonna take a selfish shift on this, as I tend to do at the tail end of the podcast, which is something that I'm self-interested in, which is you wrote a book.
I did, yeah. I published a book right about the same time as the game shows and all that was going on, and I published it with Penguin Publishing Company, and at the time, it was the largest book deal. They gave me a substantial amount of money, and I know you and I talked a little bit about this before. And I thought, wow, this is awesome. I published this book with Penguin. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And it wouldn't say it was a bad experience. The only bad thing about publishing a book with a large publishing company is they took away a lot of my voice, and they kind of made me out to sound like a guy from friggin' like the Andy Griffith Show, you know, kind of like yuck, 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 like Barney Five. So I wasn't very happy with the book. The book's okay. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the book's okay, but it's not what I wanted. But yeah, I'm proud I wrote it. Just not that happy with the end result of it. I mean, if you want to check it out there, the Joe Decker or the World's Fittest You. I mean, you know, check it.
People get started.
Yeah, it's good. Good place to get started. But
did you have an intention or an interest in writing the book before, or did the publishing company come to you and say, "Hey, we think you should write a book because you've got a compelling story"? Or
I had an idea about writing something, putting together something, just because from my experience of training, I wanted to be more along the lines of like training for, you know, the world record and different things like that, but be able to make it doable by a lot of people out there. So yes, I had an idea, and I had a friend that was a ghostwriter and helped me put together a basic, just short, like outline. Yeah, an outline to send to the publishing company. And the publishing company, you know, I was all over the media. I mean, I'm on People Magazine, I was in GQ, I'm this and that. So for them, man, they just thought like, oh, you know, crap, we're gonna make millions off this guy. And
yeah. So is there going to be a book 2, and are you going to do it differently? Or are you going to hang up the book writing?
You know what? I definitely have toyed with it. I mean, putting something back out there. It's just I'll be kind of lazy. I have the general format, and I definitely have the material. It's just now putting it together. And I definitely, like, you know, you and I talked, I would definitely self-publish. I wouldn't go through a publishing company again. And then do it just because I do it because I want to do it. Like at first I did it because I thought I'd make a lot of money. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. And in reality, you know, even though I did make some money, the book wasn't what I wanted. So I had the wrong intentions, and I think I kind of paid for it. So,
yeah,
but yeah.
No, I'm in the process. As a matter of fact, the goal is May 13th of next year, and I get this book sent to me by my accountability coach, Mark Resnick, who is just amazing. And when I sat down with him he was on my podcast, the Small World Story. He's actually a brother-in-law he lives here in Massachusetts, 15 minutes away from me. I met him through the Build Your Life resume, and then we never really talked. And then all of a sudden he was on one of my friend's podcasts that lives in Milwaukee. And I reached out to him and said, how do you know David Cooks? He's like, oh, he's my brother-in-law. And so we ended up talking and hanging out and having some discussions. And then we met for the first time in person a couple of weeks ago. And he sat down. He says, well, why do you want to write the book? And I said, I just want to make, you know, my reality is I talk for an hour and I make an impact in people. But there's a lot of people, believe it or not, that want more. And I want to give them something more. That's something that they can take with them that has more stories or more aha moments for them to be like, okay, now I understand that's why he shared that story and this is what it meant. Go deeper. And the first thing he said was, I'm glad you didn't say you wanted to do it for the money, because that's not why you write a book. And that's, you know, long and short of it is it doesn't, for the 99% of us, it doesn't make any money. And that's just, but it's just something to get out there. And I'm listening to you and I'm like, man, you could put your life story. We didn't even touch on, if you want to learn some other things about Joe, there's a number of podcasts out there. There's podcasts, there's videos. He's got a YouTube channel where he talks about a little bit more in the detail of his drugs and alcohol and his time in New Orleans. He and I shared and talked about, you know, it's real easy to spend a month one night in New Orleans. You can expedite your life cycle very dramatically and quickly in New Orleans. And I've just chosen at 47 to just my addiction when I'm in New Orleans now is grilled oysters. You know, I stay out of the 3 beers for the price of 1, or the world's biggest beer cup, or any of the other stuff that tries to suck you in there. But No, there's a ton of stuff out there that you can get deeper into, but I definitely wanted. I'm sitting here going, man, you should do a life story book. I mean, just talking about the events, talking about the experience. Like I said, I read or listened to somewhere where you're doing this intense race, and you said I run with a cigar and a glass of wine or a bottle of wine, and you took in this. I mean, that's pretty cool. So. Hopefully you share more of those stories and more of that stuff, and maybe that's what your book's going to be about. But definitely, I'd look forward to reading it.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much, Josh.
Well, I got to tell you, I think I covered a bit of ground here from all of my homework. I feel like I've become a super fan of Joe and Nicole Decker and your mission here. But is there anything I missed, or is there anything coming up that you want to share? And if not, how do people get a hold of you? How do they become members? Where do they go? All that good stuff.
I'll let the boss get in here.
I was going to.
Thanks for having us. It was a pleasure talking to you guys.
Oh, thank you. This has been awesome.
We're working on our 2023 schedule as we speak, but you can always count on Labor Day weekend being our 4, our 12, and our 36 big event called that Ultimate Suck. So Labor Day weekend is always locked in. And then June will be our Midwest regional event. We're picking out locations as we speak. So they can follow us either on Facebook at The Suck or Gut Check Fitness. We're also on Instagram, and then our website is gutcheckfitness.com if they want. They can also contact us directly if they'd like to.
Okay. I will put all of your contact information and all your links in the show notes. This has been great. I appreciate you guys. This has just been kind of one of those funny things where, Dave, who we're going to, give one more shout out to make this connection and have all this stuff happen, who said, that you helped save him from him, I think was his words, is that, you've made a difference in his life, and was the reason. It was the way that he said it and what he said that had me say, I really want to, if nothing else, meet these people just to have some more good folks that I know. But to you guys making the time, and especially trying to make it during the setup of the race was the original one. I appreciate you guys coming on here. We'll have to have you on again next year for the race. Maybe I'll go out there in person and we can do some live video feeds. Throw me in the gas. I'm going to be honest with you.
You want to be in the gas chamber, Josh?
I actually think I do. I actually think that I want to see what it is that people find that they're willing to go knowingly getting sprayed, not in the face, because that would be cruel, but getting a room full of Bear pepper spray and staying in there for any period of time. That is rather interesting. So. But no, we'll definitely be staying in touch, and I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and maybe go run for like 30 or 100 miles. And I'm going to go to the gas station and get a car wash. It's like 6 miles. That's going to be my challenge of the day. So
yes. That'll be time for cigar and wine here pretty soon. It's almost happy hour here in San Diego. So
I love it. I love it, because everybody else that's in your world will be like, do not smoke a cigar. Do not have a glass of wine. You still enjoy it, and that's fantastic. That was one thing I didn't get to do. Yeah, you do. Like you said, we're all going to die sometime. The one thing you don't want to do is say, I wish I smoked a cigar, or I wish I did this. And I'm not saying that people should smoke cigars, or drink wine or do whatever. But if you enjoy it with moderation, of course, you should enjoy those moments. So.
Exactly. What's that moderation thing you speak of? I need to work on that, I think.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you do a lot of moderating. It's yeah. No, you got the all in dialed in. That's pretty good. So, well, listen, that'll do it. Thank you very much, guys. And for those of you that listened, we could talk for another hour. I could talk for 2 more hours. My podcasts are getting longer in length, but I think it's because I'm not putting a time limit on these things. I don't want to be Joe Rogan. Well, actually, I do want to be Joe Rogan, but I don't know that that's going to happen in my lifetime. But we'll keep trying. But this has just been great. Our guests are getting sharing so much more with us, and this is being put together just all for you to enjoy. So thanks for the feedback, saying make them longer, make them stronger. And we're going to keep doing that. And in return, hoping that everybody that's listening, that's on a podcast platform, can go ahead and subscribe, hit follow, smash, as the kids say, the follow button. And if you could hit a 5-star rating and review and do both, I give you a free t-shirt, which appreciate your time in doing that, but it does make a difference. It does help us with visibility and let us know that we're doing a good job. And if I'm not doing a good job and I don't deserve a 5-star rating, don't click anything else. Just hit me on the email and tell me what I'm doing wrong. Josh at BeAwesome, JOSH at BeAwesome, BEAUSM.com. And I'll listen to you and take your advice and your thoughts. And maybe if it makes sense, I'll make some changes and modify it so we can earn it. So it's been another great one. And remember, if you can be anything, be awesome. Have a great day, everybody.